I am very pleased to have Herbert Ong back of Brighter, Brighter, and Brighter. I mean, Herbert, after so many shows, I don't know how many shows you've had, but after this many shows, it should be almost harder to get you brighter.
Yeah, no. There's always something to learn every day. I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. There's so a long way to go.
Anyway, this is Randy Kirk. We've got Herbert Ong again back with us today, and couldn't be more pleased. And if you like having Herbert on, would you hit the like button? This is a really specific thing where I've got a guest. If you hit like this time, it means bring Herbert back over and over and over again. And then follow him on all of the different places he is. Brighter with Herbert. Do you have more than one channel at this point, or is that all on Brighter?
That's
all on Brighter at this point. Okay. And then, do his Patreon thing and definitely follow him on Twitter because he's putting on all these great spaces. So there's all kinds of places to hook up with Herbert. Hey, so Herbert, what we want to talk about today is the dream of every YouTuber is to have an interview with Elon Musk. We'd like to be able to sit down with him. And I know I only gave you like 7 minutes to prepare this list. And I'm sure if you had overnight, you could prepare an even better list. But if you could have that interview, what kind of questions would you be looking to ask him?
Yeah. That's a great question. So the first question I want to ask you is that in this hypothetical scenario here, is this things that I prefer to have an interview with him where it's just me and him, and he's going to share me the actual answers, and not that this is, broadcast to the world and so forth. I want to know the actual answers to some of these questions.
You think? I think he's the most transparent CEO ever, but he obviously can't always say exactly so he has to kind of,
Okay.
But you'd like to hear the unfiltered, the answer that he would say if he wasn't the CEO and there was a bug on the wall. Okay. All right. So,
and the reason why I'm saying that is because, first of all, Elon is not only the richest man in the world, but he's basically the most consequential human that we've ever had, I believe.
Second.
We'll see.
Second. Yeah.
Second.
Well, no matter what you believe in religion, Jesus Christ is still the most, by a landslide, the most consequential human that's ever lived.
Yes. Okay. And so, and then we are at a crossroads. This society of ours are a crossroads. I want to know what's going to happen with not just energy and cars, but, bots and AI. And we are at a point where things are changing very quickly, rapidly. I'm an optimist. I see things I'm a tech forward person who's a, technophile who just loves technology and sees the benefit technology. I've been having this conversation with my family and my wife recently, but I'm actually really scared right now. I'm not as optimistic about what's going to happen to this world with AI. Wow. And I'm actually very, very confident about how the world's going to get better with bots, but not AI. And then with Tesla, which is where I'm an all-in investor in Tesla, I'm very confident about my investment in Tesla because I think they'll still win cars. They'll still win robotaxi. They'll still win energy. But I'm now not so sure yet if they'll win bots and the brains that power the bots. And so that's the kind of questions I'll go through. So we can go through kind of the list that I prepared.
Well, gee whiz, I think that would be a great place to start because, it certainly is the conversation of the month, at least in the tech world. And I think with 100 million people downloading ChatGPT in the first week or something, it appears that it's spilled over into the general world as well. So tell us about your fears. Tell us about the question or how you might couch the question to Elon on that subject.
So obviously GPT came out. It's created by OpenAI, by Sam Altman, and it was co-founded by Elon. Elon donated $100 million for Sam and him to start OpenAI with the concept that, he already knew that AI is going to be very dangerous or whoever controls it is going to be very powerful and they're going to be very rich. And he wanted to make sure that it's open source so that if everybody had access to this, it's less likely that one entity, one company could control this. And of course, what's happened instead is that Sam Altman and Elon had some sort of falling out, which I'm so disappointed with. And that Sam Altman has taken investment from Microsoft and is, while they're a nonprofit, and he's kind of answered the question that this nonprofit is still in control, but they need the money from a profit kind of investment from a company to be able to support the goal that they have. And then that this GPT, which is it's kind of this general AI, it's heading in that direction. People are kind of concerned because it's emergent and it's self-learning. So, Elon recently started X.AI. He just announced that this weekend. And, it's like, so for some basic questions. Okay. So I'm glad you started X.AI, but why did you do it separately? Why did you create this company as a separate company versus in Twitter, which is initially where people thought that it was going to be built off, and or Tesla? Because Tesla has Dojo, the supercomputer. It has all of the robotaxi software and self-learning, and they were positioning Tesla as being the path towards real-world AI. He called it, right? The ability to label things, be able to learn, self-learning, and it just because it's on a car, he called that these are just robots on wheels, and that we're going to now do bots, and we're going to take the brains that is in learning on cars and then apply it to the bots. But now he decided to separate this company separate from Tesla, which I'm fine with. I'm just curious, why did you create a separate company? But the bigger question I have beyond just that is, okay, how likely are you going to catch up to GPT? And I've done spaces and I've done interviews of quite a number of robot experts and AI experts. And so, luckily, most of them, in fact, all of them have said that the game's not over. That GPT can, other companies can still catch up to GPT. But in my understanding of exponential growth is that even if a company is just 2 weeks ahead of you, it's a game over. So let alone the fact that you are just now starting an AI company. And so the question burning in me is that, please, Elon, tell me truthfully, did you already have an AI division years ago, and that you were working towards general AI or large language model AI that's going to be able to be very similar to GPT? Because if you haven't started now and you're just starting now, I'm even though, never place your bets against Elon and all that. I totally agree with that. He's the greatest business mind in the world. I totally support that. But it's just, no matter how great of a person you are, the way exponential curves work, GPT, what is shown us, could actually take over. Now, experts are telling me game's not over. So that feels good. But if GPT can do what it can do, this thing is teaching itself. It's emergent. Well, could it not learn how to drive a car just like a human could? So instead of using, sensors in a car, you just put two eyes and it just learns on its own. You put GPT in a car and it figures it out on its own. No need for robotaxi and all that stuff. So that's the thing. I don't believe it can. And the reason I don't believe it can is because the OpenAI chief scientific officer himself, I just watched his podcast interview just a week ago, and he was asked the question, why did OpenAI not do robotaxi? And he answered something like, well, in order for us to do that, we considered it, but you would need to have significant commitment, and you need to have 100,000 hours or some ridiculous kind of effort to be able to do this. So I feel comfortable that GPT may not be able to do robotaxi, but you do kind of wonder if GPT becomes conscious and it gets there, it could be like a human, it can learn how to drive. But I still feel confident that Tesla will win robotaxi, but I'm no longer confident that Tesla will win bots. And so you and I have had this discussion already, and I've asked a bunch of experts. Tesla has the manufacturing scale, they have the ability to create bots in scale and so forth. But if their knowledge base, if that brains on that bot is not as fast and as smart as GPT, then you could put GPT on a terrible bot, but it knows how to do nuanced things of, open a fridge and get me the beer and deliver me the beer. It's going to learn and do all those kind of little things better. smarter than humans. And so
Well,
to anything. So that's the first question I have, which is, it's like, okay, I'm an investor in Tesla. How is your AI competitive to GPT? That's the first thing I would be asking about.
Well, I'll just give you one suggested response to the question about the robots in terms of Optimus winning the day. The TAM on it, as Elon has said, is unlimited, 8 billion or something like that. So making 100 million a year would be a drop in the bucket compared to the need. And so if two other AI companies all of a sudden had great language learning capabilities that they could throw onto an ugly bot, and they both made 100 million units a year in 10 years, and at the same time, Optimus was selling 100 million units a year, that'd be okay. we'd all be so rich we wouldn't know what to do with it. So the TAM is so large that you could have 2, 3, 4, 5 players, and no way would they ever be able to address the TAM if they were successful products. Yeah. So that's one way to look at that one.
True. Except that, before GPT came out, I was very confident that, Tesla has won the game because they were so far ahead with real world AI. But now got a question. And of course, I got to ask him, his concerns about AI at this point. He's been warning about this for years. He had actually reminded everybody that when he had the one-on-one with Obama way back then, he didn't talk to him about Tesla. He didn't talk to him about SpaceX. He told him about AI and the regulation required for AI. At that point, nobody was serious. And they go, yeah, sure, that's sometime way in the future. And then we're all shocked at how incredible this is. Now we're kind of concerned. So Elon said, I'm going to start Neuralink, because if you can't beat them, you better join them. And so I just did an interview, and we looked at the progress of Neuralink. And if humans have access to the kind of the internet and maybe connect directly to GPT, we can then at least have that knowledge, but also be able to help shape the direction of where GPT is going to go, right? How it thinks, and it's called alignment, right? It's human values and so forth. So I am scared about what's going to happen to AI. And I think I still very much trust Elon having the most kind of because he founded OpenAI. He knew that this was happening. And I think the story is now much more clear that what happened was Andrej Karpathy, who used to work at Tesla, left Tesla. And then he joined OpenAI 6 months later. And very clear what happened was, then they launched ChatGPT 4. He had seen ChatGPT when he left Tesla.
Yeah, probably.
And so that's why Elon is kind of upset at even Andrej Karpathy themselves. So, it's less a statement about the success of robotaxi, but more about the fact that this GPT is just, changing the world, and the best minds go there. So that's where I'm still hopeful that he will make up with Sam Altman, because the best thing in the world, literally, I mean that in every way, is if Tesla partnered with OpenAI and GPT, and then you have the best brain to the best manufacturing skills, bots, you have Elon and Sam working together again. And so I'm still hopeful that that's going to happen, but him opening up and launching X.AI.
All right. So let's go on to question number 2.
All right. So the question would be, I guess the thing that I'm most excited about, as many of us are, is moving away from just auto, but also robotaxi. So I want to know, how close really are we to robotaxi? I mean, we are all watching FSD Vision 11. We're seeing a step change in improvement. We're seeing at work. We're seeing it knock down the nines. But he, I know that he's been hammered quite a bit because he would make these statements like, it's going to come next year. It's going to come next year. It's going to come next year. But I guess what I want to know is from, his real data, how close are we really? Again, that's why I want to do like a side thing, just me and him, without me sharing anything to anybody else. I'm just really curious, how close are we, or is this still quite a long ways? I, again, can see exponential curves, just like, I was somebody who's been following Ray Kurzweil with the Singularities Near. I've been reading his book, been believing everything about this exponential curve for AI, and he's dead on in terms of his predictions that we're going to get to saying, we're going to get to the, what is that called? The Turing test, which we did now. The Turing test basically was hit this year. And he was predicting 2029, and everybody kept saying it's going to be decades away. So even with somebody like me, who's very aware that robotaxi is solved, it's a guaranteed. He has said that. I believe him. Mm-hmm. And then I'm just like, as an investor, I truly am curious. Okay, so is this something that many of us investors are saying? You can hear them say, yeah, it'll be 5 years from now. And so right now I just care about auto. But if it can happen sooner, and again, there's different ways of how it's going to roll out. But what I think is going to happen is very similar to what happened to ChatGPT. People go, oh yeah, it's decades away. But then one day there's a national societal shift,
right?
And then within a week, everybody goes, holy cow, right? That's what I think could happen with robotaxi.
Sure.
It's not that you need to see the revenue of Tesla going up because of purchases of robotaxi or FSD subscription or otherwise. It's just the fact that they're going to see the car doing everything, videos, and go, oh, it's here. Yeah. And then in an instant, the world changes and they realize this is a done deal. It's happening. And yes, we're going to wait for regulatory approval, but Tesla's done it. Right. So that's the moment that I want to get to, is when does that happen? Can it happen? And I think it will happen, just like what happened to GPT. It's like people don't realize it's here, and then all of a sudden they release something, and then people play with it, and they go, holy cow. And then everybody in the world instantly recognizes it's here.
All right. Question number
3. Question number 3 would be, Master Plan Part 3. So this is the big deal, right? Master Plan Part 3. I want to know, in the entire deck that they produced, and they talked about renewable power, the existing grid, right? The switch to electric vehicles, switch to heat pumps, high temperature heat delivery and hydrogen, sustainable future planes and boats. I mean, they basically talked about the entire way of delivering humanity to a sustainable, clean future. And they talked about that it's achievable. What they didn't say was how much of that is Tesla going to do? They just said they just looked at it and says, this is what the world needs to happen for the world to improve, and it's achievable. I want to know how much of that is Tesla going to do? Are you going to do all of it? Are you going to do like just pieces of it? Is the assumption, or should we all take the assumption that they mean to say that this is now their goal? Yeah.
Well,
what do you think?
My little answer, based on what I do know, or what I think I know, is that the goal has kind of been around the 20 to 25% level. So at one point, I think he said they would need 10 terawatts of batteries by 2030, and that Tesla planned to have 3 of those terawatts.
Okay.
That we need 80 million cars, and we would be doing 20 million of those. That's 25%. 30%, of course, on the energy. So it sounds to me like their kind of goal across the board might be in the range, at least as of 2030, of being around 25% of the total TAM of whatever these different categories, although that might be 0 on boats and 5% on planes. But I mean, overall, maybe around that 25% level. But I have had the futurist himself. So Brian Wong has been saying, why are we still talking about 2030? Shouldn't we be talking about 2035 now? I mean, we've been talking about 2030 for 4 years. So what happens after 2030? There would be a really interesting question. But so
I liked what you just said. So that's good. 25%. I'm curious what their answer is, because you know how Tesla always raises the game, raises their target milestones and what they're going to achieve. So this was Master Plan Part 3, but Master Plan Part 2 and Master Plan Part 1, it was actually company targets. Yep. And they listed out what the company's going to hit. Yep. This is world targets.
Right.
And I want to know, what is the company's targets? Lay that out. So, these are very ambitious. And so then the next question I have is, well, why not prioritize energy versus cars? Now, cars is 21%. energy is 35% of reduction in fossil fuel use. Plus, energy is so much more easier, theoretically, because you just take the batteries and you create mega packs. You don't have to create the freaking car. You just, it's a higher margin for these things. So why not, prioritize energy and, you're going to make so much money in cars and it's a big deal, but you can solve energy more. I want to be curious why they don't do that, or they shouldn't do that, or why they should do that. So.
Yeah. Well, my first thought in my head when you asked that question was because cars are way sexier.
I'm not saying drop it; they can continue doing it. But now that you've got energy,
now that you're at this level, yeah.
So I mean, they're going to do both, right? But if the largest company in the world is Saudi Aramco, and the next things you know, it's like Shell and Chevron and those guys, right? So it's like, yeah, energy is a massive business. He himself has said, right, that there's a car business. Energy is going to be at least 10 times. Robotaxi will be at least 10 times that, and then energy is like it's an infinity. So, yeah.
Okay.
And then bots is like
Question number 5.
Yeah. So similar to that is like solar farms. And so I feel like I'm a lone wolf in this thing. I've been repeating myself quite a bit, which is I fully thought that in Investor Day, they were going to announce a big solar farm initiative. And the reason I really believe that is because, if you want sustainable energy, there's 3 pillars. And he's repeated this a million times, right? And energy generation is pillar number 1.
Right.
And he's already talked about solar is the best way to do it because it's free. You have this fusion reactor in the sky.
Right.
And so I'm shocked that if you are going to hit sustainable energy, you're not doing anything in solar. And in fact, they've reduced their efforts in solar roofs. And it's like pittance of what they ended up doing with it. And so then they were fired. We were seeing that they were actually canceling projects of consumers who bought the solar roof. And so my assumption with all that was that they're going to redirect the solar panels and solar roofs for superchargers, or we talked about this already, you and I, where we thought that they'll probably do it for companies as part of the combined with the semis. And then I think that they're going to do a solar farm. and I think they're going to do a massive solar farm, and they're going to show the world that, they're going to reveal it one day and they're going to say, here it is in Texas. And this now powers all of Texas.
So then we're going
to do one for California. We're going to do one for another state.
So he's going to buy 100 miles by 100 miles of scrubland in Northwest Texas.
I think so.
For free.
I think he's already done it. I think they've done it.
Yeah. Because he said that's all he would need for the entire country. He's 100 by 100 miles. Yeah.
Well, so like I said, they'll just start with one state, and then expand from there. But, people kept saying to me, well, they don't agree with me because solar farms, they only want to do a business where they can innovate and disrupt. And solar is not something that you can, they've been trying to do it for decades and they can't reduce its efficiency, whatever. I don't think you need to improve the efficiency. I think that what it does now is enough. And it's just a matter of square footage, area. Just get it out there, what you have now. Anyways, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I just feel like I want to ask a question because I think that if Tesla becomes an energy company, right? You and I have talked so much about this already that I want Tesla to be redefined and its stock to be what's the word?
Reevaluated with the new story.
Yeah, no, to be an energy company instead of a car company, and then it will be. But
you know what? Let me interrupt you. Elon has already said he's gone back. He's gone past energy company. It's now an AI company with specialization in robots.
Yes. No, I know. So we could look up, but right now, this year, I do think this year is going to happen. They're going to do it in Q2, Q3. They're going to show the announcement of a Giga Shanghai, Megapack factory in Shanghai is big deal. Big deal.
Big deal.
I mean, even my wife said to me, she heard about it too. And it's like, okay, this is great because now they are seeing that they're going to create these mega packs. They're going to be an energy company when the revenues start coming in. But if they do the solar farms too, all of a sudden it becomes very clear. They're going to be a bigger energy company. The stock will be, I think it's re-rated was the word I was trying to come up with. And the PE ratio will be up higher. So I think it's going to happen this year or next year. Yeah, so solar farms, it's just a little thing that I have a little thing on, and I just kind of like feel very confident that it's going to happen. But surprisingly, many people don't agree with me. They think that it's a waste of time. Other companies are doing it. Yeah, it's just, I think psychologically, they're going to be able to show people that I'm getting something from free, and I'm going to sell it. It's like, it's just so much more of a better story. And I mean, superchargers, right? They're going to put solar panels on every supercharger, and then that tells that story right there and there. Right. So,
right. Yeah. Hey, I'd love to see.
I think that they're going to de-emphasize retail consumers, and that's what's happening. That's why they're no longer going to sell to homes with solar panels, but instead they're going to sell to commercial, utilities, and their own farms. That's what I'm thinking they're going to do.
Okay. And I've lost track. Is this question number 6 or question number 7?
I don't know. And so, yeah, so the next one would be, I am interested in the modular design, right? So they showed in the investor day, they talked about compact car. They talked about, they showed that, the things that are hidden, right? It looks like a van, it looks like a bus. And that was part of the thing that they talked about. And so it's just a theory of mine, right? And I'm just excited to know the answer to it. Probably won't turn out to be that important, but the idea that that if you're going to create a compact car, so we're all excited to find out how they're going to build this. It's very likely not going to have paint. It may not be the steel, but it probably has some sort of carbon fiber or some sort of new material, but they won't need paint, right? Mm-hmm. But they also talked about it being modular. And so I'm just very curious that why would you create a compact car, like its own vehicle, then you'd create a van, its own vehicle, then you create a bus, its own vehicle. And, but they're all about cost reduction. So wouldn't it make sense that it'll be modular, meaning it's same skateboard, but then if you want a compact car, you take one. And then if you take a bus, you take 2 of them and you connect them together. If you want a bus, you take 3 of them and connect it together. So a van is 2, a bus is 3. And if it's prepared for robotaxi, and you see the transition to Cybertruck, you don't need to have a front or rear. And so I think it's going to be much more like a box kind of design. It's going to be gorgeous, but it's not going to be a normal car design. And so then it's going to be modular. You just like Lego. And so when you think about the unboxing modular, it just made sense at this point. Initially, we all kept thinking they're going to do single stamping.
Right.
Then they switched to Lego sets connected together, right? And that each of these can be built on its own line. So now you start realizing that, oh, okay, that's how you're going to do it. You're going to you're just going to connect them together. So that you're going to have, the sides all built separately, and then, it just bigger. You can create anything if you have this kind of Lego set model. So I think that's what's going to happen, but I'm just curious. I want to know sooner than later if that's what's going to happen. I'm very excited about it.
I love it. So have we exhausted your questions, or was there another one?
There are some bigger questions. Let's go back to the bigger existential questions.
Okay. All right.
So with AI, right? And he started Neuralink. I want to know, do you still believe that's, I mean, I know he has said before that, the only way he thought that we could beat is join them rather than beat them. And so I'm just curious again, if he still believes that, if Neuralink is on progress, and if that can actually help solve this issue, or he's changed his mind about it. I don't know. And again, if it's a one-on-one, tell me the truth. Yeah. I'd like to know that. And then when you think about what happens with the future, so Tesla as an investment, I feel very confident. Okay. You and I are going to be very, very rich. We're going to be fine. But there's that transition between this utopia that I still believe is going to happen when you have bots everywhere. Okay. So with AI, general AI, with GPT, and with taking over knowledge workers, and not just knowledge, but like basically knowledge plus creativity, entertainment. And then you have bots that can take over any manual work. What do humans do? But not only what do humans do, because I'm very concerned about that. Like, what are we going to do? But beyond that, how are we going to, in order to get to this utopia, like he's talked about when you got robots and everything that the economy, everything will be so cheap and everybody, will all be the society will be very, very abundant.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But there's a transition to get there, and it's going to be choppy. And so the next year to 5 years, everybody's going to lose jobs, right? Copywriters are gone. Website designers are gone. A lot of kind of software designers, lawyers, a lot of jobs are going to be lost. And then there's that moment until, okay, then we get to utopia, and then everybody will be getting lots of money. But in the meantime, how do we get there? Who's going to be surviving? Who's not? So
well, my son is in marketing. One of my sons is in marketing. And I asked him, I said, you're creating content and doing all the stuff. And what about Chat GPT? And he says, I read this meme the other day. He says, nobody that's in marketing is going to lose their.
Not true.
Wait a minute. Nobody in marketing. Wait, how does it go?
I know it.
So the people that will lose their jobs are the marketers who don't learn how to use GPT in their job.
Nobody in marketing is going to lose their job because of GPT. They're going to lose their job from marketers who use GPT.
Right.
I don't agree with that. That's not true. Okay. That's not true. That's a nice thing to say to people today.
Yeah.
So today, GPT is a productivity enhancer. So use it, become better than everyone else. But in a matter of months, there's a thing called Auto GPT that's launched today. Auto GPT is running on its own, doing everything on its own. And then so as YouTubers, our job is maybe here, maybe gone, because Auto GTP, basically they had one example where Auto GTP said, create an all-in podcast. And it researched all the top topics. It prioritized them. It created the script from what Kalkanis would say to Sachs, what's the jokes that they would say, the topics that would create. And then very quickly, they can combine that with this other app. I can't remember what it's called right now, but video creation. And so it can create the B-roll that you need. It can copy your voice, my voice. It can copy the best British voice that's possible out there with a perfect intonation that attracts you and really says it in a nice way. What's the point? But the only caveat I have is that somebody said, they said Deep Blue was created 10 years ago, and it was the best chess player already. They'd already beaten all the smartest chess players in the world, the best chess players, and by miles. Okay?
Right.
But today, no one watches a computer play another computer, but they'll still watch humans play humans. Okay, there might be something about that. And so as YouTubers, there might be a role still for human interviewing another human. Right.
Maybe.
And so
well, I was going to say that they can't replace how cute you and I are.
No, they can't. First of all, we're ugly. We don't sound great. We don't say the right things. By that point, people's attention plan is going to be to the point where just get the fucking point right now. Get there right now. And you're taking too long to say the point. And GPT actors can do it like in second. Like, I don't know.
Oh man, well, we'll have to interview some of these robots someday.
They will treat us like ants. You know what I mean?
Right. That's right. Yeah. Exactly.
Like maybe 2 years from now, you'll be talking to one and you can do it, but then the 2 years and 5 months later, it's like, yeah, you're an ant.
Well, now that you've brought us all down, but we just have to last long enough to get to nirvana, right? So it's
so that's the other thing is like, okay, let's say that this is a thought experiment I was having, and I'd like to ask Elon this question,
right?
Which is, it obviously appears that everything he's doing is somehow related to getting to Mars, and his overarching there's sustainable energy for Earth, but even bigger problem is the existential threat to humans, whether it's AI or it's all sorts of other things that can happen, right? He's
drones. I'm most afraid of drones.
Oh, then you're the big bot guy who's so supportive of bots, and you're like afraid of drones. I mean, yes. A bot and a drone are the same thing, man. So, a thinking drone
Well, I'm really worried about drones who can drop bots, into the exact
I
location.
mean, they can be any size. It can be like a little,
I
mosquito. I mean, and it's like an intelligent mosquito. I mean, it's like, it's scary. Okay. But anyways, so then it becomes maybe going to Mars could be kind of like a safe haven. Like, like if somehow I just don't think it will, AI will exist no matter where humans go. But, and so that's another question I'd like to ask him is like, how is everything going to fit together to Mars? Because obviously the Boring Company will be used. And that's the other question I want to ask him. Is there any plans using Starlink? No, sorry, SpaceX to send a boring machine into an asteroid to do asteroid mining, to obviously to Mars to create underground habitats. And then he talked about creating pretty clear they're going to create houses, right? They're going to create AC units, HVAC units, which then leads to houses, and then which they need to do for Mars. So I just be very curious to see how all the pieces that he's working on, they all come together for Mars. Yeah.
All right. Well, Herbert Ong of Brighter with Herbert. I hope that we all got brighter today. Isn't that how you end your show? It's something like that. Anyway, but truly, you should be listening to his show. I will say that this last week in particular, he had by far the best Tesla World videos of anybody that's out there. 3 in a row. I mean, 3 in 1 week that were just, if you haven't already watched them, you need to watch them. If I remember, I'll put all 3 of those links in the information below, along with how you can contact Herbert on Twitter and go to his spaces and support him on his Patreon. And me too. I need more Patreon folks. Okay. So Herbert, thank you so much for coming on. And we will look forward. This is going to be showing on Monday night. And then on Tuesday night, we'll have you back talking about the earnings day on Wednesday. So you can all look forward to that. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button and the notify button, and you want to be notified that Herbert's going to be back on tomorrow night, then that's what you need to do. Herbert, again, thank you so much.
Very exciting. I love Tesla. Love everything about it. This is so much fun. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Randy.
And it's been great talking to you.